Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Mindful Mic. I'm Colbi Twiss, joined with my co-host here.
Grace Shimatsu.
And we have taken a little bit of a hiatus from our podcast over the last couple months with kids getting out of school and getting ready for summer, but we are back for the summer and I'm so excited. And I'm even more excited to have our first guest back in a while here with us today, Shari Baber. Hello, Shari. How are you?
Hello, hello, hello. I'm doing great. Excited about our conversation today.
I'm so excited about this. We've been playing a little bit of email tag, I guess you could say. I just want to tell everybody how I met you and how I'm excited just to get to know you more. We both met at the mental health rally, the Light the Night for Hope at BSU. You had your soul food booth up, which was very eye catching. I love your logo. I love, I'm in marketing, so I love all that stuff. And your t-shirts. And I had always thought about for the children's home that would be a great festival for us to be a part of for many reasons. And we can get into that in a little bit later. But I approached you about that. And then I learned you have a whole like all these other things that you're doing. It looked like you're the founder of Brown Like Me, which we'll talk about. The director, right, of Boise Soul Food Festival, which I cannot wait to learn more about as well. We are just talking about a salon that you have, and I don't know, I might be missing some stuff, but let's get into it. Will you please tell us a little bit about yourself and a little introduction? We'll go from there.
Sure. So my name is Shari Baber, and I've been in Boise now for over 35 years. I came here to open a textured hair salon back in 1992. And that adventure of opening a hair salon started all of the community organizing and community work that I do. I am the youngest child of 5 children. My mom and dad had 5 children, and I was raised in a single parent home. My mom and dad divorced when I was 3. And so from that, I just had a pretty normal childhood. As an early adult, I fell into all the things that kind of happen in the inner city. I was a teenage mom, pregnant at 16, gave birth at 17, and fell into, all the things. Fell into the system, had welfare, housing, food stamps, all things that the government had to offer. But that's not the end of the story. So I moved to Idaho and a lot of things changed. But that's the start of it all. The baby of 5 children, raised by a single mom in a poverty-stricken area in Sacramento, California. Left there, came to Idaho, and changed my life.
Wow, that's amazing and gives us such good context into who you are. And for everyone that's only listening on podcast and not watching on YouTube, I just wanted to say that, Shari, I love your glasses today and how they're matching your shirt. Shari has on these adorable orange glasses that are matching the orange shirt. And I feel like that right there tells me a lot about you, that you're a person that I would like to spend time with. I'm so curious. I know you have so many different endeavors that you're involved in. And I think we're going to talk about both today, but I'm curious, you came to Boise, started the hair salon, and what came after that? What came first? Was it the involvement in the Soul Food Festival or Brown Like Me? What got you to where you are today here?
So I think one of the things that I share most often when I'm talking to someone about my journey is how I'm going to use the word flabbergasted I was to find out there wasn't a black side of town here. So I'm a hairdresser, so I'm looking for clients, and I teach cosmetology, and I specialize in textured hair. While I am well versed in all textures of hair because I actually went to all white cosmetology school, and so I can do any kind of hair, but because there was no textured hair salon here, that was my mission. And so I went seeking a black side of town to muster up some clients when I found out there wasn't one. So my first eye-opening experience was like, how is there a town without a black side of town? Like everywhere I've ever been in my life, there's a part of the town where we hang out, right? But there wasn't one here. And I found that to be good and bad, actually. I found it to be good in the fact that Black folks live everywhere in Boise. but sad in a way that you could go weeks, months sometimes without ever seeing anybody who looked like you.
Mm-hmm.
And so while it was a blessing that we were living everywhere in the Treasure Valley and surrounding areas, it was difficult to find community. It was difficult to find a connection to your culture. And so I think, unbeknownst to me, that's what planted the seed for everything that came after, was my desire to be seen and heard and find a place of belonging for me and my children. And so I did find the Black church. Shortly after I got here, I was invited to St. Paul Baptist Church, which is the first Black church in Idaho. Has been in existence now for over 100 years. As a matter of fact, the first building has been now donated to the Idaho Black History Museum, is housed in St. Paul Baptist Church, the first building. And so it made me realize that there was so much rich history here. And so when I found St. Paul Baptist Church, I did find the Black community. And so, my clientele started to grow. But I, as a Black person, still felt like the only place I ever found community was either at the hair salon or at the church. And so I wanted more and needed more and desired more. And so I can't take credit for the founding of the Boise Soul Food Festival. I was a part of a group of people. Back then, when I first moved here in 1994, I was invited to participate in a group called the Treasure Valley Multicultural Association, TBIA. And it was a small group of Black business owners and Black entrepreneurs and Black employees of places like HP, Morrison Knudsen, and had recruited all these Black folks, and they were now living in Idaho, and they felt the same way I did. Like we wanted to do more where we could see each other and socialize with each other and have this thing. And so they actually created the Soul Food Extravaganza back in the early 90s. I came along and offered up entertainment, so to speak. I did the first hair and fashion show at Municipal Park. I think it was in 93 or 94, something like that. And for a very long time, I provided the Soul Food Extravaganza with a hair and fashion show, variety show. I was kind of the entertainment for the extravaganza for many years. And so I supported that as it grew and it grew and it grew. And then at some point, the extravaganza lay dormant for 4 or 5 years. And because I own a hair salon, people were, Shari, you should bring it back. Your hair and fashion show was like the highlight. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm too old for that. It's a lot of work. And so I kept being very adamant about not bringing it back. But I was also headed towards retirement. And people were saying, you should do just one last hair and fashion show, like a big kickoff or whatever. But I still said no. But what changed my mind is my daughter is a mom now. All my kids are moms now, but my youngest daughter had recently had a baby, and she said, Mom, when you were raising me here, it is isolated even with a Black mom. Like, I was Black at home, but when I was outside of the house, it was still an isolated experience. And the Soul Food Extravaganza gave me an opportunity to share with my friends. I would go to my Hispanic friends, Kingston-Yetta, and my Greek friends, Greek festival, and I would go to Chinese New Year, and I can invite them to the Soul Food Extravaganza. And Legend won't even have that experience. And Legend's my grandson, and I'll do anything for him. So when she said, that made me think about the fact that, me raising my children here, and knowing that the isolation could be really real, not having a sense of belonging, and knowing how much pride she felt having the Soul Food Extravaganza as an activity during the summer that she could share with her friends of many cultures. And so I gave that a lot of thought and decided, since the Soul Food Extravaganza didn't exist anymore, that we would rebirth it as the Boise Soul Food Festival. And so we did that back in 2018.
2018.
Wow. And For those who don't know, maybe never heard of the Boise Soul Food Festival, what is it? What can they expect if we go to the festival? What's in store?
So I tell people all the time the Boise Soul Food Festival, and we do have a website, Instagram, all that social media stuff, and you can always type it in and it'll come up. But Boise Soul Food Festival is while we do celebrate Black American culture, art, food, entertainment, all the things. We also celebrate all other cultures as well. I believe that every single culture has a food for the soul. Everybody has a staple, right? That
Right.
is part of their staple of food. And food is a way that breaks down barriers and walls, right? You can always, and it's actually a study was done that people's guards are down most over food. You can have a conversation and have more understanding and wanting to receive and give the most over a meal. And that's why it was so important for people to sit down and have dinner at the table. You find out what your kids do. Like there is some kind of defense mechanism, which is documented, that comes down when you are receiving nourishment. And so while Boise Soul Food Festival does celebrate Black culture, Black art, Black food, all the things, we also open it up to our neighbors to be able to share their soul food. And so we have vendors from all cultures. We have Laotian food and Hispanic food and Jamaican food and African food and Caribbean food. And so it's while we are celebrating everything beautiful about Black American culture, we also invite our neighbors to celebrate with us as well. And so what you get at the Boise Soul Food Festival is all the things that are so beautiful that makes our community a community for everyone. It also gives our young entrepreneurs a audience. This last year we had over 20,000 people come through the park. And so if you don't have a brick and mortar, if you don't have a place where you share your goods and words on a regular basis, this gives you an opportunity for people to see you and for you to see people. And so we're very intentional about making our spaces available to small local business owners and entrepreneurs. We don't, no shade against Chick-fil-A or KFC or churches, but we don't invite franchises. We save the space for our local entrepreneurs, food vendors, local artists. We don't bring in large name entertainment. We save this space for our local bands and musicians and singers and artists and dancers and spoken worders, our local DJs. We try to keep it authentically focused on uplifting the artists and entrepreneurs in our community.
I love that so much. And I was going to say, I think the two-way to bring people together is food and music.
That's it.
And
Yep, it's a universal language.
they are the universal language, and that sounds exactly what you guys are are giving there. And just to kind of touch back, you said you've been here for 25 years, which
35.
35, which even more, you are a native. Now we can call you a native. We
I
have people
am,
moving
and
all
I
the time.
love it here.
You're a native. And it's interesting because you're saying you're from Sacramento. I'm actually from Sacramento. I was born in Sacramento. My
Oh,
family's from
wow.
there. Yeah. And so I came in 78. My family did. And my husband's like, well, you're from California. You're not a native. I'm like, I'm a native. But I will say I've seen a lot. Grace is also from Boise. We've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot in the 40-ish years. Since you've been here for the last 35 years and doing the salon and doing the soul food, how have you seen it change? And what kind of community support did you have at the beginning when you first came and started to now? Have you seen a big change in community support? If you could kind of touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, so when I first came here, I really have to give honor to St. Paul Baptist Church. I was raised in church as a child. My mother is a preacher, and my brother actually already lived here when I came here. That's how I found out about it. My brother was a BSU football star in
Oh.
1977. And he's 10 years older than I am, and he went to BSU, graduated, got his degree, and HP picked him up. He married a white lady and they had two mixed kids. And so my brother came and started a life here for himself, but I was like, yeah, no, I'm a little bit too black for Idaho. Like my brother, he's a cowboy. He fits right in all things. But I'm just a super black woman. I love being a black woman. I love my culture. I love my heritage, and I'm very outspoken. I show up just like I am everywhere I show up. And so my brother used to say, "You're going to have to tone that down a bit." And so when I first came here, my brother and I ran in totally separate circles. And so the community that did embrace me was the church. They kept my babies while I found childcare. They invited me over for Christmas and Thanksgiving because, I just really didn't have a family besides my brother. He was a single dude riding horses. I wasn't trying to kick it with him. But and that was a very strong longevity community at St. Paul. Some of the people at St. Paul are like 4 and 5 generation Black Idahoans. And so I was really, really shocked. I was like, you're from here? Like my best friend at the time, I was like, you're a fourth generation Idahoan. So that means your mama was born here, your grandma, your great grandma. I was like, wow. Like, I thought every black person that lived here had to move from somewhere. Nobody's a fourth generation Idahoan,
Yeah.
But they were a very close knit community, but they really did give me what I needed to feel at home when I first got here. And so building from that kind of a reception, but what was different is I did feel different because I wasn't a native Black Idahoan, right? I kind of felt like an outsider, not because of anything they did, but just knowing that they had all these long-term roots and I was kind of an outsider coming in. I knew what that felt like too. And so my work started by making transplants feel at home because I knew what it felt like to be a transplant. And so in the early days, I just used to have a lot of people over my house for dinner. I cooked some collard greens, some cornbread, some macaroni and cheese, and fried chicken, and have people over for a meal because I knew what it was like to move here and not have family connections and a community to connect to.
Yeah. You brought a community and a place of comfort for people to come to that needed that
Yeah,
through
and at some
food. I
point it
love it.
outgrew my house.
I love that. I always tell my husband, I want my house to be the place where all my kids' friends hang out at. Come and raid my pantry. I'm not much of a cook, but I'm like, come, I want to feed you. So you're at my place.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
that's
think that's
exactly how
wonderful.
my house was for community. There was a lot of things that I brought from the city that they didn't really do here. I celebrate Kwanzaa, and when I first was behind my chair talking about Kwanzaa, clients were like, "What's that?" And I'd share what it was and why I celebrate and all the things. And the first year I decided to do it after I moved here. I think I had been here maybe 2 years and I still celebrate. It was just me and my kids. But I started talking about it behind my chair and clients were like, well, I want to come. I'm going to bring my kids. I'm going to come. And I'm okay. Yeah, no problem. I didn't think everybody would actually show up. But the first Kwanzaa, I had 80 something people in my living room. I was like, oh, yeah,
I
I'm going to have to
know.
figure out a different way to do this. And so now Kwanzaa is a annual part of the celebration at Brown Like Me. Brown Like Me, I made it part of the Brown Like Me culture. And so every year we have a Kwanzaa banquet and celebration at the end of the year. So it was those kinds of things that I always did with just my kids that now I'm able to incorporate into the community with the different organizations that I'm involved in.
Wow, that's beautiful. I mean, it really just seems like you're a natural community leader, and it just comes naturally to you to bring people together. And the Boise Soul Food Festival in particular just sounds like an extension of that, which is
It
lovely. And
is.
then you mentioned, yeah, which is amazing. And I also love how you said that it's all small local businesses. I feel like there's nothing worse than when you go to a festival or trade show like that, and all of the businesses are franchises that you can get anywhere. It's really special when it's all supporting local small businesses. I love that touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, Grace and I, we have a big belief here with the nonprofit world as well, right? Like when we partner up a lot, we love to partner up with like the local nonprofits and help each other out. Which, as Grace was talking about, like Brown Like Me, you
Yeah.
started you started that, right? And I'm wondering, does that come from your background? You said coming from, single mom, foster care, and is that how that? No,
Not at all.
not at all. Something. Okay,
So,
let's dive in.
Brown Like Me, it was really funny how all these things just kind of got dropped in my lap. So when I first moved here, I had no idea white people adopted black kids. It didn't happen in my community. In my community, if you couldn't keep your kid, Auntie Susie, Grandma, some old lady at the church, your aunt, your uncle, somebody in the family raised that kid. Like I didn't realize that there was that multicultural adoption was a thing. I just didn't. But when I moved here, I quickly learned that it was a thing, and it's a big thing here. And so what I realized early on is that probably 30% of my clientele were black children adopted by white folks. So which was great. I needed the clientele. I was raising two kids, but as you know, your therapist is more than your hairdresser. We are certainly a
Yeah,
therapist.
therapist. I know.
Yeah,
It's true
we
though.
are.
It's so true. Now I think about
It
it.
is.
My
It
yeah.
is. And so you can't help but grow personal relationships doing what I do for a living because you are in everybody's personal space and so close. And the job you have of being able to touch a human's body with your hands is kind of sacred to me. People talk often about their personal space, and hairdressers are all in your personal space in every single way possible. But the ability to actually put your hand on another human being and that human being feel safe in that space is a gift all by itself. And so I've never taken that gift lightly. And so as I was talking to parents and teaching them what they needed to know about their kids' hair and skin care, and it's all different. And that doesn't mean it's bad, but it is different. For people to say it's all the same, it is not. And for folks who adopt black kids to say, oh, we just need to love them. You need more than that. And I'm just very transparent about that. And so these conversations would always come up, but I'd start working with a kid, and over the years, I'd start at 2 or 3 years old. And so then the kid kind of grows up in the salon. And I started to notice things like little 2 and 3 year olds would not want to leave with their parents when their hair was done. And I'd be like, what is that about? Like, and then I'd finally click, like, in the salon was the only place that they were not the minority. In their home, they're the minority. They're the only black kid, only black person. But when they came to cutting up in company, everybody in there is black. All of the clients are black, the stylists are black, like everybody black in there. And so the kid wouldn't want to leave, not because they didn't love their parent, but this was the one place where they felt some kind of connection, right? Some kind of community, some kind of belonging. And so that started making me invite them to a church with me, or to the Soul Food Extravaganza, or to my kid's birthday party, And so I started to build community that way. But everything changed one day. I was working on a little girl. She's like 7 or 8 years old. And I had been doing her hair for a really long time. So we had gotten to the point where her mom would just drop her off. And we would have our girl time. And she said, Miss Shari, I'm going to a birthday party. I was braiding her hair, and, she's sitting looking in the mirror, and I'm behind her, and I'm braiding her hair. And I said, oh, that's so exciting. Birthday parties are so much fun. And she got kind of serious, and she said, Miss Shari, I'm the only brown girl at all the birthday parties. And I've heard these kind of distressing comments before, so I'd always have a comeback, to make them feel good. lift their self-esteem. And so I said to her, I said, girl, that's because you're special and you're beautiful and you're a diamond and diamonds are rare. And then she turned around in the chair and she looked me straight in my face. And she said, Miss Shari, I'm the only brown girl at my own birthday party.
It makes
And that triggered something in me. Like, and I don't be wanting to cry in front of kids. So I said, I got to go to the bathroom, baby. And I went in the bathroom and I literally cried because I, for a brief second, thought to myself, what if someone dropped me down in Japan where nobody looked like me, nobody understood my culture, my hair, my skin, my tech, and I'm grown, right? And I'm thinking about the anxiety, the stress, or whatever that I would feel as an adult in a situation like that. And that's when I said, I have a 4,000 client base. I could change something for this little girl. And so I just wanted to have birthday parties once a month and invite all the little brown kids to a birthday party so they could have other kids that look like them.
oh my gosh.
And that literally, you guys, I'm not exaggerating one bit. That's all I wanted to do when I started Brown Like Me. I just wanted to provide a space where brown kids could have other brown kids sing happy birthday to them. So we pulled it together and all the things. And at the very first meeting, we knew we were on to something way bigger than birthday parties. And that's actually how Brown Like Me got started. And now I had a Black friend say, my kid is Black and they need some friends. How come it can't be for everybody? Why they got to be adopted to have this community?
Huh.
It's like, well, I guess you got a point. My kids ain't adopted and they could have been benefited from, Brown Like Me. And so it's not just for the adoption community, but that's how it was thought of for that community. But since then, we have learned that it is a safe space. It's a place of belonging. The parents, the white parents who have adopted Black kids, find a community that understands what they're going through. It was our goal to put people together often enough that they weren't just friends because they were Black or brown, but put people together often enough where they grow these organic relationships with each other. And so the first set of kids that we had when we started in 2019 are the best of friends now. Like they go to the mall together. They go to each other's track meets and basketball games and they, do sleepovers and all the things. And the parents have this wonderful relationship because, like one of the parents told me, like, I have great white friends who have white kids, but I can't come to them to talk about how I feel or what happened when my kid got called the N-word at school. Like they have no clue what I'm feeling, no advice for what to do. Wherein Mina's mom, who's been in the program since it started, and Mina's now 18 or 19. So Paisley's mom, Paisley's 7, right? So she can call Alicia and say, hey, this happened to Paisley at school. Did it ever happen to Mina? And how did you handle it? And can you help me through it? What advice can you give me? And so it has grown into such an amazing program. And we were able to take 10 teenagers to DC in 2023
Oh my gosh.
to teach them how their voices mattered in government, to visit HBCU, to visit the African American Museum in DC. And so all these different branches have grown from that one comment that rooted in my spirit about this little
Wow.
girl's experience. So it's been amazing.
Wow.
That's
Do you
amazing.
do you also find that there's like mentorship between the kids in the program? Like I think you said Paisley and Amina were their names, that there's an age difference and their moms were able to connect on things and get advice. Do you see that between the younger kids?
Yeah,
and
we
older kids?
actually have a junior mentorship program. So our program, we have three different age groups. There's birth to 5 are Brown Like Me middles, 6 to 12 are Brown Like Me middles, littles, middles, and teens. And then after
like that.
they Yeah, after they graduate from like the teen program, if they've been committed and all the things they need to be, then they can be promoted to junior mentors. And so, and then from junior mentors, they can apply to actually be on the board. So right now we have two young ladies who went through the whole program, graduated to junior mentorship, and they are now in college at BSU and they serve on the actual Brown Like Me board.
Oh, wow. That's creating such great opportunities.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
As I say, I've heard of a lot of stories of how nonprofits have started, and I think this is probably my favorite and most touching one. And it's got me emotional just because coming here, like I said, being raised in Idaho, being here forever, and being so oblivious to everything you're talking about, and having you open my eyes, and I know a lot of the community listeners to this as well. Um, I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful for you being here and bringing that to our community. Talking about like with mental health and the connection there, because what you really are doing is helping these children, with any future mental health concerns and helping them out and find a place of belonging. What would you say for a child to, build a strong sense of identity and confidence? I know introducing them to other children in the program. What kind of advice
so
would you give?
this is why I was so excited about this phone call, this podcast. This is really why, one of the reasons why I was super excited about it is because I really could use some support getting parents to understand. I have been called to many suicidal situations, many of the adopted kids being having mental breakdowns and issues that could have, I think, had the concern. See, here's the thing. I'm trying to tread lightly because I don't necessarily have the correct words. But here's the thing. Trauma begins when emotions cannot be heard or expressed. What I do know as a fact is one of the classes or projects that I put together is adult adoptees talking form for parents who have just adopted. Because what happens is the children don't have the vocabulary or the ability to express what they're feeling and what people are making them feel like, or how words or actions are impacting their emotions. And so what has been happening is they pack down this trauma because they don't have words to share it with their parents, and they don't feel comfortable sharing it with their parents because their parents don't look like them. So if they're 5 and somebody said, "Oh, your skin is dirty because you haven't taken a bath," how do you process that as a 5-year-old? And how do you find the words to share with your parent how that made you feel? Number one, the kid is going to feel like my mom is white and so is my dad. They're not, why would I even say that to them? Maybe I am dirty. So then they go and try to scrub the brown off their skin. Like, these are real life stories and situations. This is not nothing I'm making up. And so one of the things I do is I invite the adult adoptees back and I tell them what you wish your parents had known when you were 5. Tell them what you wish you had, the words to express at 5. Now that you've gone to therapy and unpacked your trauma and now you have the words, what would your 5-year-old self say to your parents? Say it to them. Because what I have seen happen is the kids without proper mental health awareness, the children don't have a safe place to unpack this. And here's where the problem comes. And I'm hoping, as I'm meeting people who are in school and they're people of color, because me, my own self, in my mental health journey, booked and scheduled and was seeking help for the racial trauma that has been sat down inside me my whole life. And I'd meet with a white therapist and they just don't get it. Full transparency, don't get it. Well, are you sure they meant this? Or you're probably taking that personal when it, and then you're defeated because you're not being, and so finding a therapist that either has done the racial work or it's more comfortable for us to find a therapist that look like us, or at least a therapist who has done the work and understand the racial injustice that most of us walk through this United States of America with. That is not being addressed. And so what I see happening in the multicultural adoption world is these kids, a lot of them, and this, I'm not a professional, but are being diagnosed as angry, bipolar, all these other things when they just want to be seen and heard. And they don't have a way to do that. So, just like a boiling pot of water, if you don't remove the pressure, it's going to pop off. And then anytime a Black person pops off, then we're angry and we're all kinds of other things, right? And so I have made it a point now to I have connections with Black therapists in other places who are now licensed in Idaho, get licensed in Idaho, so that I can refer mental health therapy to my families at Brown Like Me for therapists that look like them. Because I'm finding that locally, we just don't have a lot. We just don't. And the mental health is so important for all of us, but especially in the adoption world and in the BIPOC families. People of color just don't receive it. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think there's two folds to that. First of all, we have talked about here being a counseling center that there is not enough representation, 100% on that. And the other thing is, I think the other side is also counseling for the parents so that when a kid feels comfortable, you kind of as a parent have one chance, right? You have one chance when a child comes to you and tell you how they're feeling. You don't get it right, you might not get that second chance.
That's the
So you
truth.
got to be really careful, right? So if they do feel comfortable, hopefully, and they come talk to them, I think we need to educate the parents on how to handle that and say that rather than just, oh, it'll be okay, ignore them and just keep going on or whatever. I mean, this is like there needs to be, I feel like, counseling done on that and education because it is a lot different and it looks different. So I think that's, I don't know, I just wanted to bring up that point that I think it goes both ways.
It does. It does. And so there's so many other programs out there where people, White Fragility book can be read and all the things. So there's a lot of research and a lot of work and a lot of places you can Google for podcasts and, tell people how to get over, white people, folks, how to get over yourself and all that. But for me, I've gotten so much flashback because I have a different approach. I don't have that, not that it's not necessary, but I don't have that. You white people go do your work and don't give me the physical labor. That's a real thing, right? But that's not my lane because for me, I'm very tapped into the white fragility, not so much for the white parent, but for the Black child. What I realize is in order for me to connect with the kid, the parent has to feel some kind of safety with me. So even when I think the parent need a whole lot of work, I'll feed them formula. Which my allies are like, sure, you're blah, blah, blah. You need to stop being so nice on the white people and make them do the work and all that. And that's cool. It's a true thing and it needs to be done and all that. But that's not my assignment. See, my assignment is to fill them formula until they can digest soft food. And then when they can digest soft food, then I give them little cut up hot dogs and stuff. And then eventually my goal is to get them to some tough steak, right? But you
Spoken like a
can't
true
feed an
mother.
infant steak. You can't, right? Because they can't digest it. They can't, you got to give them what they can grow on. And that's how I do it. I let the parents be fragile and all stuff. I do go home sometime and roll my eyes, be like, Lord, help me. But I've learned that if I'm hard on the parent, because they truly do need to do the work, The kid is the one who suffers because now the parent is the one who's driving. The parent is mad at me, and so they're not going to bring the kid back. So I lose what I'm trying to do anyway. But if I feed them formula and then a little bit of solid food or puree food and then a little bit of soft solid food, eventually, if they stay around long enough and they see the benefit of what their kid is getting from being in that program, then they're willing to open the book Right Fragility and think maybe, just maybe, I need to do some work. But I can't, I have to get them there.
Yeah, that, first of all, that's just a beautiful analogy about the soft food, and that makes so much sense. And actually answers one of my questions that I've been wondering is, it seems like a fine line, like you just described, between needing to be there to show up for the child and also respecting the parents and making sure that they feel comfortable and safe with you as a mentor and with giving them guidance and education. So I think you described that beautifully, and I bet that's sometimes a difficult situation to be in because it's a very fine line. You want
It
them to
is.
put in the work themselves too, right? In addition to it. And is that something that you provide through Brown Like Me? Do you provide education for parents to do on their own, like resources or
So
things like that?
I don't necessarily provide it. What I do is I provide space for questions and answers. Like, I don't make it mandatory that you go do your right fragility work. Like, but if you're in the space around here enough with the speakers, the activities, the community service, like, you would have to be blind to not know, "Oh, I'm a little biased here. Maybe I ought to check that, And so I don't, the reason I don't though is because we are a very fluid moving organization. I do that intentionally. Like, I don't make people sign in or join a membership, and all that is so connected to numbers and data. And, yeah, America's been doing that to Black folks for forever. So I move very fluidly. Like, if I put the information out there and then I say, if you want to know more about it, if you want to learn more about it, reach out to me. I'll let you know where the resources are and where you can find them. And I do that because if I make it mandatory, again, somebody's not ready for solid food. And so if I say you have to do this, they're not coming back. And then the kid, so you don't have to do anything to be a part of Brown Like Me but show up. We meet you where you are, where your kid is. You just show up.
And that was going to be my next question is somebody's listening or we have something on our website or we're talking to somebody and they're like, I really want to get involved. What does the child or the parent need to do? They just need to go on your site and see the
Yep,
events going on and they just show up or
that's it. That's all you got to do is
that's
just show up.
pretty easy.
Yeah, it is. And
Talk about
I do
welcoming.
that. I do that so intentional because there's so many rules and regulations about every other thing that we do in our lives, right? And Brown Like Me just wants to love on you, wants to love on your kid, wants to give you a place of belonging, wants to show your kid that they're not the only one and they have a place to belong. And so we do have some activities like when we do Kwanzaa, you got to buy a ticket because I'm feeding you. So you got to register for things like that. But on our social media platforms, on our website or whatever, you can like the page. Once you like the page and join the parent group. So in order to get into the parent group though, you do have to answer some questions. I usually will reach out to you and have a conversation because we are working with kids and we want to keep our kids safe. You can't see everything on the parent page unless you are an accepted member. But the public Brown Like Me Facebook page and our website always has what we have going on. And we meet the second Saturday of every single month, 12 months out of the year, for a meeting of some kind or another. So we always meet the second Saturday of every month from 11 to 1.
And you were talking about, all the people you're feeding and buying tickets, but I'm sure you still have other costs involved. And, we're going to end up putting your website and all your handles, everything on our site so everybody can have easy
Oh, I
access. But
appreciate that.
What would you say to people that want to get involved? Everybody, I always tell people with nonprofit, find your passion and invest in that. That's if you want to invest, whether it's volunteering or financially, find that one and really invest in it. And so we've got people and they're going to listen to this and it's going to touch their soul. It's going to touch their heart. I'm sure that financially donors are very helpful. Is that something that they would just reach out to you, or is there
So
donation
funny you
on
should
their
say
site?
that. I'm so glad you said that because so Brown Like Me just recently won a EPA grant. And we were so excited. We've been a poor organization for forever. And so but I'm okay with that because the way the gift was given to me is I want to work in solidarity with anybody who wants to work with us. Charity is another thing. Like we want to work in solidarity. And so when we got this grant, we were like, "Woo, look at us. We're okay, but it's a reimbursement grant." I didn't know what that meant because I've never had a grant before. And so one of the grant advisors said this to me. She said, "Sherry, what you need to move this grant forward is 25 people who will invest $1,000 in what you're doing. That's $25,000 because I have to be able to bill for what it is, submit the receipt, and then they give us the money." Well, I'm a small organization. I don't got $25,000 in the bank. And so the grant advisor said, "You have been doing this work in the Valley for forever. I bet you could ask 25 people for $1,000, and that will be your class flow maintenance. And then you can move this grant through." So that's my
Great.
ask right now is 25 people to donate $1,000 to Brown Like Me so that we can actually utilize the grant that we were given. Because right now we
I think
can't.
that's a great ask. And I just, everyone listening right now, like, I mean, this is such a great cause. This is a great investment for sure. This is a community investment. And is there a certain, like a timeline that you're looking, or is it just as soon as you can get it, then,
We have to come up with the cash flow management part in the next 90 days.
okay.
Because it's a 2-year grant, right? We won it
Mm-hmm.
last year and we've been trying to figure this whole thing out. So a year has already passed. Yeah. So we're at crunch time, but you know what? I haven't been stressed about it because I feel like if it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. And if it doesn't happen, we've been doing okay
You'll
on
be,
our with our pinto beans. We get nourishment over here with our pinto beans. Yes, we would like to add some vegetable and some steaks to that, but we've been functioning okay and staying alive. And so I think if it's meant to be, and I'm
Yes, ma'am.
hoping that the community really does see value in what it is that we're doing here. Lots of organizations have kicked in $1,000 here and $2,500 here. Micron supports us with a STEM. Their Black Employee Networks comes and does STEM classes with the kids, and so, but what we're looking for is unallocated funds. So when we
Mm-hmm.
get grant money and this, that, and the other, it's allocated funds. So I can't just use it necessary, and so that's why the grant advisor was like, if you could just get donors to donate that's
Mm-hmm.
unrestricted funds, and then you can run the cycle and do all the work that we want you to be able to do in
Yeah.
this grant cycle. So
And even I would say if you're listening and you don't have $1,000, spread the word. I mean, I think that if people can spread the word, or maybe you have 500, get with a friend or get with some friends and everybody, put in $100, get with 10 friends, spread the word, do what you can. I think every little bit helps, and maybe people can get together and have a group and raise that together. So there's so many ways to get involved with that. You don't have to have the 1,000. You can spread the word and, help Sherry out here, because this is so worth it. This is so worth the money. So
thank you so much. I really
throw
do
that
believe in
plug
the work.
in. I can tell it's passionate. I mean, there's a reason why I think you've been successful and been able to grow in the years that you've been here. And again, we're so grateful to have you here as a community leader.
Thank you
Yeah.
so
Maybe you want to run
much.
for something?
I did that. I did that in 2023, I think. So I told you guys I took the kids to DC, right, to teach
Oh,
them how their
yeah.
voices. Yeah, okay, so I did that and I reached out to one of the political parties here and I was like, hey, I'm going to DC. I'm trying to raise money to take these kids to DC and all the things. So they really did jump behind me and they didn't give me any money, but they put it out in their newsletter that I was taking these teenagers from Idaho to DC to teach them how their voices mattered in government. And it's just the most funniest stories. Anyway, so we get to DC and we're on the White House steps and everything. And we had made appointments to see our senators, right? And because, you know, they got people from Idaho and we get to see our senators and all the things. And so here we are, these 10 black teenagers and 4 black chaperones on the steps, the White House, and this black senator named Warnock comes down the steps and he's headed towards us. And his assistant is like, no, that's not our group. That's not our group. And he points over to this other group that was next to us. And so our senators come down, Senator Rich, and I think it was Craypot. I can't remember who it was. I don't know. It wasn't him. It was Rich and Little, I think. So I don't know. I don't know what their names were. Anyway, they're coming and they're talking. So the black senator from Georgia goes, where y'all from? And I said, Idaho. He said, all you little black people was from Idaho. We cracked up laughing. It was hilarious because nobody believed that this whole group of black people was from Idaho. But when I came back, they said, Miss Shari, we want you to run for office. I was like, no, I'm not a politician. I was just doing my civic duty and teaching these kids how the government runs that we live under. But I'm not a politician. No. I said, listen, I got 3 kids, 2 baby daddies. I'm a clean, sober drug addict. I've been married 3 times. Like, I'm not your candidate. And
You're doing what you should be doing. I can tell you that. You're making an impact.
Listen, I ran, y'all. I got 47% of the votes. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
My goodness.
But I'm really
is
not a
amazing.
politician. It was just an assignment to see what the temperature of
Sometimes
Idaho.
that's a
But
good thing.
Yeah.
it was funny. But yeah, that was my whole political experience. It was funny.
What an experience. I bet you learned a lot.
I did. And I don't regret it. The kids had a really good time working on the campaign and they learned a lot about how our government works. And I don't think they would have paid it any attention. They did because they saw somebody
Yeah.
who looked like them doing it. So it was great.
Yeah.
Yep,
They learned the
absolutely.
importance of voting.
That's right.
Wow.
Yep.
This has just been such an amazing conversation, Shari. I just think you, like, this story, the organizations that you work with are a perfect example of identifying a need in the community and meeting the community where they are to make a change and meet the need that's there. And it's just really beautiful to hear your story and all the ways that you are building community. And I think that that's something that kids are going to be so thankful for, and it's going to make a big impact on them.
Absolutely.
I'm wondering, before we say goodbye, what one message is that you'd like everyone listening to walk away with today?
So I think that I love our mayor's slogan that Boise is a city for everyone. And what I would like to challenge our community to do is be more welcoming to other people who don't look like you and situations. I love it here. Is racism here? Yeah, racism is everywhere. But I believe Boise is better than that. I think that we as Idahoans, and a lot of time it's just the not knowing, the unknown. Put yourself in a position to come to the Boise Soul Food Festival, to come to a Brown Like Me event, even if you ain't got a brown kid and never had soul food, because that's the way that we make this a city for everyone. And when you step out of your comfort zone, you'll realize that we're not so different. We're all just human beings just trying to live and love. And then, so when you step out of your comfort zone and maybe have a meal, share a taco with somebody that doesn't look like you, I challenge everybody all the time to, if you think you're in community, take out your cell phone and open up your photo gallery. And if every single person and every single picture looks just like you got some work to do.
Yeah. I love that. And I do want to throw some dates out there because I think you've got some stuff coming up before we end. I want to make sure, remind me the 13th coming up right now.
Yes, June 12th is the woven tapestry. It is a quilting bee symposium, so to speak. So we'll be providing a soul food dinner, and we'll have fabric historians. My 95-year-old mother is one of the panelists.
Oh,
She's
I
Dr.
love
Reverend
that.
Alice Baber Banks, and she's going to talk about quilting when she was a child. We have a West African fabric artist specialist, Meridian Lynn. Meridian Lynn Nagolski. She will be talking about the fabrics from West Africa. And then we have an adult who is an avid quilter who will also be one of the speakers. What we're doing is putting together a community quilt. You'll have the opportunity to do a block that will be donated. We have volunteer quilters that'll put them all together, and we're going to assemble this woven tapestry from history in Idaho and auction it off at the Soul Food Festival. That's on the
Fantastic.
12th.
That's so cool.
On the 13th is the block party. You're also able to make squares at the block party on the 13th. It's located at 6405 West Ustick Road, which is the community center. We didn't even get there. But I have a community center that houses all kinds of nonprofits inside. And so that's where the block party will take place. And then the Royal Roots and Runways is a fundraiser for the Boise Soul Food Festival. It is a fashion and hair extravaganza that takes place on June 19th at the Egyptian Theater.
Oh, wow. Oh, like that's one of my favorite places to go to. I love
Yeah,
that.
it's amazing.
We will make sure, I'm going to get with you. I'm going to have you make sure I get all the information right and put it on our website so people can see it. But the 12th and the 13th, those events are on brownlikeme.org. Is that correct?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And you can also follow. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. So we'll make sure that we have it posted as well, because these are great events for everyone to be aware of and to be a part of. So I want to make sure we got that out there.
Okay, great. I appreciate it.
I've had a smile. I actually feel like I'm going to look back and watch me the whole time being like, yeah, smiling and nodding my head, because this has been such a great, and I've had some tears too, but this has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and all that you're doing. So thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so much for
much.
having me. I appreciate it. Looking forward to working with you ladies.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have so much more to talk about. The festival, Soul Food Festival, is actually on
August 8th.
August 8th. I want to make sure to get that out there.
Yeah,
We
it's August
are going to
8th
talk about.
at Julia Davis Park, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. on August the 8th.
Okay. Thank you, Shari.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank
Thanks, guys.
you.
I got to run.
Thanks for
Got
all you
another
do.
meeting. Bye.
Bye.